Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where it's all about how you can turn your creative passion into a profession. My name is Eva and my guest today is a full-time concept artist, illustrator and art director from Stockholm, Sweden. He studied 3D art, but his work involves almost everything from concepts to caricatures to 3D and oil. He has worked mostly in the video games industry, recently for Resolution Games on the title Wonderglade. He has also worked on Angry Birds 2 by Rovio, where he created concept art and game assets for the mobile game. He always keeps learning new things in art, lately 2D animation, and he dreams of having his own studio one day. So please welcome Stefan Hansson, and let's get to the interview. Hi, happy to have you here.
Hi, nice to be here.
I would like to start with a question about your past or how you get to design. Did you always knew that you wanted to be an artist?
Kind of. I suppose I did like most artists do when they were young, just started drawing, and I like drawing in general, but I didn't have that much of an imagination. I just like drawing stuff, so just put something in front of me and I drew it, and I just zoned out for a few hours doing it. So I kind of knew back then that I wanted to do something with art, but it's so hard to say exactly what you want to do with art when you're so young.
Yeah, so how old were you when you kind of start to do these creative things?
Yeah, maybe like 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And which were kind of like a biggest decisions or turning points which kind of got you where you are now?
I think it was in high school. I think I went to like a technical high school where you do a lot of math and those sort of things, which is, I'm kind of good at it, but it's quite boring. But then last year I had an art class with an art teacher. It was really good and really inspiring. And he just pushed me and gave me a lot of great feedback and pushed me towards, just said that art is something you can actually do. So yeah. I think it was from that point on that I thought that you can actually do something with art. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what was like the best and the worst advice you kind of received on this journey?
I think the worst advice I got when I was actually studying 3D for video games. So we had like an artist, I think he was from DICE, who had like a lecture of what you need to know, what you don't need to know to get into the industry. And one of his advice was not become a concept artist. He just said it was too tough, people are too good, you can't do it.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's really, really inspiring talk. No, but I think that's the worst advice I've ever got. Good that I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, that's definitely good because your stuff is amazing. I really like it. So it's, that would be shame if people wouldn't see it, you know?
Yeah, thank you.
And maybe the best advice?
I think, I don't know where I got it from, but somewhere I just read, just keep learning. I think that's one of the mottos I've had, just keep learning. No matter what you do, you need to keep learning, because I found that if you keep learning, keep doing new stuff and keep experimenting, you just never get bored. And so far I've never got stuck anywhere. I just keep doing stuff, because doing new things, you get inspired by new things every day. So
yeah, because you create the different kind of areas of art. You do the concept art, you do caricatures, 3D and props for video games.
Yeah, exactly. I just do just about everything. And I work with really cartoony games, I work with really realistic games, and I work with oil and more traditional stuff. I work with computers, so I do just about everything.
Do you have a favorite one?
Painting with oil is a lot. It's probably the most fun, because when you're on the computer, you always have all of those distractions, Facebook and messaging and all of those sort of things. And if you have your oil paint, you just can't put it down because it's so sticky, and you usually have paint all over the place. You're just forced to just stand there for a couple of hours. Yeah. That's really nice and calming.
So do you paint in the studio or you go out somewhere?
I actually do a bit of everything. I take like part-time classes with a art studio or an atelier nearby. So I go there like once a month or 2 times a month and do oil paintings. And now this summer I've done a lot of landscape painting. So then I go out and paint with oils. But I also have a little setup in my home, so I can paint from home as well.
Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, because the Stockholm area is super beautiful. I still haven't been there, but yeah.
Yeah, it is really nice, but it's quite cold in the winter. So you have like your summer season. After that, you have to do studies from inside.
You're limited for summer season, like for 2 weeks.
Yes, exactly. It's not longer than that, unfortunately.
No, because I was living in Scandinavia for 7 years. So, yeah. But I bet it's beautiful in the summer, but I wish the winters are shorter.
Yes, I wish the summers were longer. Hopefully with the climate change, it can go for the better.
Yeah, and how did you find the studio where you paint?
I can't remember. I actually think I saw some sort of post on an art store here nearby, and then I just contacted him, and he said that he had spots in his studio. So
that's cool. Yeah, because some of the young artists, they are like, oh, but how do I find my studio, or do I work from home, or
Yeah, I think it depends. If I do stuff for clients and those sort of things, they usually want me at their place because communication is a lot better. But when it comes to my own stuff, I I always have something here at home, so you can always work from home because that's always nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about finding people that you want to work with that can inspire you.
Yeah, and going back to when you were developing your career, was there some mentor or someone who inspired you to go through this path?
Yeah, I talked earlier a little bit about the one in high school, but then when I started out working, my first job as a concept artist, I started at a studio in the UK, and my boss there he came from a lot of big movie studios. So he had worked as a concept artist for like 15 years. So he showed me a lot what you need to do to like make a living as a concept artist.
Yeah. And how did you find then the first job? Because some people are also wondering when you finish the school, and so how do you start?
Yeah, I went to like a school to do 3D. So I started out as an intern doing 3D art for a company here in Stockholm. And I was there for like a year, and I started doing some concept art and illustration after a while. But then they didn't have more jobs, so I was just thrown out on the streets to try to look for jobs. But basically, I just tried to contact everybody. Just make sure the emails that you send to companies are like properly worked out, and you write to each company individually and try to read up on them, and then I just sent out emails and CVs to just about everybody.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to get a job.
And how did you get yourself motivated, or to keep motivation going when you were like, okay, maybe this is rejected or this is accepted, kind of?
Yeah, I can't remember. I just kept doing it. I knew that I was what I had to do. You have to pay the bills somehow. So I kind of knew that if I don't, then the only other option is to start finding another job with something that you don't want to do. So I just kept at it, trying to just focus harder. Going.
And what about the motivation and inspiration for creating art? Where do you get the inspiration from?
I just find it just everywhere. Just everything can be really inspiring, I think. Just talking to people, finding like interesting niches, or just being inspired by everything you see. Everything can be turned into some fun, creative project.
Yeah. Because and what kind of inspired you to create the dogs, the caricature of the dogs? I just love them. I don't know.
Well, it's my own 2 dogs, I suppose. I have.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, I can't see them right now. They're like laying there sleeping. So I have 2 dogs of my own, and they just keep inspiring me because they have so strong personalities. We have one he's a mix of a pug and a poodle, and he's just so grumpy. He has just a really, really grumpy face, and he just thinks everything sucks. Well, he probably doesn't think that, I hope, but he just looks like he does. So that just keeps inspiring me to see that dogs have personalities as well.
Yeah, maybe you can create a page like, a grumpy cat, so you can have a grumpy dog.
Actually, I talked to my girlfriend about that over the weekend, that we should create like a a grumpy dog page, and he can do like reviews of dog food. Just everything he says is like from a -2 to a +3 stars. He doesn't go up to 4 and 5. He just does the low value. Yeah, exactly. He's just grumpy about everything.
I can totally imagine that. I think that
would be amazing, but fortunately, don't have the time. That would be great.
So maybe a future idea for a book as well.
Yes, exactly.
Like an art book or something. Yeah, super
Yeah.
cool. And talking about like the brand and art pieces, what you create, what is the mission and vision which goes maybe through all your art, or do you separate it for the personal projects and work projects?
Yeah, I know that I know logically that I need to build my own brand, but I'm really bad at it because I do just about anything. And I know if you just post anything, it just looks incoherent. So I try to keep things separate as it is right now. But yeah, it's a struggle because everything I do is so different.
But maybe then the personal projects, you also do caricatures of humans, so it's like fun approach maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing that kind of tried to define me the most by what I do personally. But at the same time, I just removed all the company stuff because earlier I posted pictures from the work I did as a professional, like for clients and stuff. But that just didn't look like it fit in the same world as the personal stuff I did. So I removed it after a while because it just looks cluttered.
Okay.
And it's still like that today. I mean, I post some pictures of like oil paintings and more realistic oil paintings, and those don't look anywhere near the same universe as my dog caricatures. So I'm wondering if I should remove those as well. But yeah, I thought about creating another Instagram account for just fine art stuff, but then you have to do double the amount of work.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I have the similar issue as well, because I am creating different types. I like to draw like characters, then also like more realistic things. Then I do sketches and I don't know what, and then it also doesn't fit really in the Instagram feed. And
yeah, exactly.
So it's a tricky topic, and
yeah, I don't have an answer to it. I just try to manage.
Yeah, because I also have like Nordic design styling. I really like the interior design. Then I have also travel posts. So I have more Instagram accounts, which is crazy.
Yeah, I suppose it would be a good niche if you wanted to sort of like some sort of Behance type of service where you could actually make your service tailored towards those who have different interests. That would be good.
Yeah. Probably. And do you do also commissions of the like other people's pets?
Yeah, I would, but I haven't got any so far. But I definitely would.
I'm sure you will. Yeah, because that's, I think, really good niche, because you are so good at it, and I think people would love it.
Yeah, I think so too. But it's just a matter of like getting out there and talking to people and getting my name out there. And
Yeah, so when this interview will be out, we will put the link in the notes, so people need to check it out for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And so how do you find paid projects now? Is it social networks or networking in a local area?
I've been quite lucky so far. Most of the jobs have kind of found me rather than me finding them. So it's usually someone that knows me, and they just recommend me somehow, and then they email me.
Yeah. Okay. So it's, do you go for events in Stockholm, or it's just friends of friends?
It's mostly like friends of friends. Mostly I work with games, and it's like a fairly small scene here in Stockholm, just a few thousand people. So and I've worked at a few companies, so I know a lot of people, and I suppose a lot of people know me as well. So.
Yeah, and can you kind of compare it, or maybe kind of describe for people in US how is it different maybe from LA, or where you have so many studios, and how is it in Sweden where the art scene is a bit smaller? How does it work?
It's hard to describe because I haven't been in LA, so I don't know that scene. But I suppose in Stockholm they have like a bunch of like game developer pubs and those sort of things. So there's just a limited amount of people, and usually all people go there. And you know all the companies that exist, and if you know someone that works at a specific company, if you work for a while, you always know someone at all the companies. So if you talk to someone new, you know that they're probably working with one of your former colleagues or something like that. So it's like it's all connected. You usually know someone that knows them. So
Ah, yeah, yeah. I think it's similar here also in Switzerland because it's so small. The market is so
Yeah,
small that everyone knows everyone. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's quite different. But and
yeah.
so, what is your main income source now? Is it the full time job, or do you have a multiple income sources from, I don't know, selling the art or teaching something or?
Right now I have like the main client, which is Resolution, which I work for now, and I usually like to keep like one main client that pays most of my bills because it's so hard to focus on different projects. And I just found that if you work for someone, you have to work with them for at least like 50 or 60% of the time, because if you go lower than that, you really are disconnected from the project.
Ah, okay.
So I usually like to keep one project and one main project that I work for, so I don't scatter my brain too much. And then for the rest of my time, I usually work on my own projects or take in smaller projects.
And you said during the time you work for them, you go to the studio to work with them?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
the rest of the week, how do you plan, or kind of how your day looks like, or how do you design your life?
Yeah, usually when I wake up, I just make one big cup of coffee and then I just sit down in the sofa and do some warm-up sketches. I think that's one of the things that just doing warm-up sketches just gives you just like feel that you're in shape to do some drawing. I found that if I don't do morning like drawing, I just tend to procrastinate all day long. So that's what I do first thing in the morning, and drink coffee and cuddle with my dogs and girlfriend.
So do you draw every day then in the morning?
Yes, 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 yes.
Ah,
And
that's
then
cool.
yeah, and then when my girlfriend takes the dog out for the first walk, I sit by the computer and do my like morning studies. That's when I usually do the dogs and those sort of things.
Yeah.
So I do that probably 1.5 hours, and then I go off to work or work on my personal projects or something like that. So I always have like that 2 hours in the morning where I do stuff that's not project related or income related.
And then when you schedule your week, do you use like traditional tools like a calendar or some digital apps which you can recommend?
Right now, I'm just using like a notepad and writing down stuff, keeping it quite simple.
Yeah, yeah.
I've tried a bunch of those planning programs, but it just for me tends to create so much of a hassle getting to know the program, knowing how to use it. So I just use the simplest tool possible.
Yeah, yeah. And when you have more projects or when you're deciding to take a new project, how do you decide what to say yes and no to?
I usually go for the projects that are most fun, and that shows most promise. Like if you have a potential client that's really shares the same values as you do, and that's someone that you would like to work with in the future, then you can of course sacrifice a bunch of time to make it work. But in general, it's just about finding projects that are fun and inspiring.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Since I have the main kind of job that pays my bills, I don't have to take projects, which is a lot of fun. And I actually really like working on my own projects. So I kind of if I'm taking new clients, they have to compete with my own project, which is usually a lot of fun since they're my own. So
yeah. And so what are the most exciting projects you're working on now, or something upcoming you want to share?
I mean, the project I'm working with at Resolution right now is really a lot of fun. So that's probably the main project I'm working on.
Yeah.
For my own projects right now, I'm just learning stuff. I'm learning how to do traditional 2D animation because that's something I always wanted to do.
Yeah, and so how do you learn? Is it something online? Do you take online courses or practice outside or?
I've tried to find some online courses, but I couldn't find any good ones on like traditional 2D animation. So I just bought a bunch of books and talked to people that I know and tried to look at like the course schedules for those sort of educations, if there are any, and just trying to set up my own schedule for doing it on my own. But yeah, I suppose I need to find someone who can help me out a bit as well and critique my stuff.
Yeah, and so can you recommend some of the books you just started to read and learned from?
When it comes to animation, I suppose the Animator's Survival Kit, I suppose, is the traditional one. All the animators, they say that you have that one. And I think that's the one that I followed just read it over and over again.
Yeah, and maybe also some other books you would give as a gift or recommend people to read it.
Ah, yeah. Have you read The Hero's Journey?
Oh, not yet, no.
No, that one is really, really good. I really like that one. It just opens your mind quite a bit. Although you don't really know if it's like true or I mean, it's true, but if it's factually correct or not, but it's still interesting point of view, I
So
suppose.
what is it about? Why do you like it? Or if you can like describe it a bit more.
Yeah, to make it kind of short, it's about the author is like a professor of comparative mythology, and he's like compared a bunch of different mythologies and religions from
Ah, okay.
all out the ages, and he kind of links or like describes how they all shared like the same ideas and same sort of like storyline in the all the different religions. So it just basically comes and says that they are all, well, he doesn't say they're all the same, but he says that like there's a common thread through all of them, which is like
And
really nice. And a lot of people have used that sort of book as an inspiration or like a guide to how to create stories for movies and those sort of things.
yeah, because you can imply a lot of it to your life as well, and you can always find something which is like good or
Yeah,
similar to
exactly.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you got that hero's journey from, where you're like, well, it's like the typical Hollywood movie sort of like up and downs
The,
the
the
of the
story.
actual storyline, yeah.
Yeah, and when you are creating your own projects, do you also write stories about it, or you have some stories in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think all good games or books or movies have great stories, and all great stories have some sort of meaningfulness to them. So I always try to get that into my projects as well. But it's kind of tricky because I primarily want to paint and draw,
Mm-hmm.
and if you draw or kind of take the paintings too much towards what you're writing, for me it just tends to bog down and I just don't get forward. So I do it, but I'm not very good at it. But I always keep it in the back of my head when I paint.
Yeah, and do you want to also create a game maybe in the future because you work on a lot of games? Do you want to do something on your own as well?
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I right now I prefer to like try other things because
Mm-hmm.
I've tended to games become a little bit. I mean, they're after a while they're just the same, basically the same sort of things, the same sort of planning, the same sort of project structure and those sort of things. And I want to try something new after a while, but I'll probably come back to games after a while and do some fun games.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And was there like what I would like to know as well? If did you buy some product or service which kind of simplifies your life, which you can recommend to people?
Yeah, finding someone to do your bookkeeping.
Ah,
that's that's essential. You don't have to sit there and do your numbers on your own and send them to the tax authorities. That just takes a bunch of time. And so I'm really happy that I have a friend who does that, so he does that for me. So that's good.
ah, okay. So you have a person. I thought you have an app or some
Yeah,
software.
I actually have a software as well,
Ah,
but
okay.
it's actually free, so it doesn't cost anything, and it's super good and it's super fast. But you still have to. I mean, a bunch of times I've done it properly and I've set everything up, and then when I double check the numbers on my program and the ones I have in my bank account, they
Yeah.
just don't add up, and then I have to sit there for a couple of hours trying to find what I've done wrong. And usually what happens is that I put something into the system twice
Yeah.
because I've received an invoice by mail 2 times or something like that, and then I accidentally put it in twice.
Yeah.
And it's just those sort of things I don't want to spend my time doing.
So what is the system you are using? The software or
Right,
program?
I think it's called Bokio. I
Bookie.
don't know if it's just, yeah, I don't know if it's just in Sweden or not, but it's
Yeah.
just everything goes super, super quick.
Yeah, and just for people to check it out if they have the similar problem, just to see
Yeah.
what they can use. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If they're in Sweden, they should definitely check it out. I
Yeah.
tried a lot of different stuff, and that's the one it's free basically, and it's super quick. Everything goes super quick and super smooth.
Yeah. And what is the thing you wish you knew before you started your career? Something you would advise to
Uh,
young yourself?
I wish I knew a lot more about like traditional art and painting, and the fundamentals of art. Because if I knew that before I started, I would know what I needed to know when I started working. Because when I started working, I didn't know what I didn't know. So basically, you just get off running in all different directions, not knowing exactly what you're supposed to do. And so just knowing a bit more about the fundamentals of art, because then you can handle most situations with clients and work.
Yeah, and do you have a favorite quote, maybe something related to that? Or I love quotes, so that's why.
Yeah, keep learning, I suppose, is the one I would use. Yeah.
Like to put in on sketchbook or somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's really cool that you draw every day, because sometimes I don't have time as well, and I'm like, okay, I should do it every day.
Yeah, I know. And the funny thing is that if you draw, I don't know someone who said it, just draw the first thing in the morning. I know that when I do that, it's just easy to get going with the drawing. If I don't draw in the morning, it's just, I procrastinate it all day long, and I just don't feel like in the mood for drawing. So if I just draw something, the first thing I do, then I usually do it every day.
Yeah. I think that's really good because people can learn from it. And and some other thing we can always take some key takeaways. It's like a worst career moment. Did you have something like that for now? Can you share the experience?
I think it was when I started out as a concept artist, my first job. As I said, I didn't know what I needed to know to work in the industry, and it was my first job, and up until that point, I'd just been like drawing and enjoying drawing, doing some 3D, and just basically not having a very professional look at things. But then the boss I had there came from the movie industry, had a lot of experience, and there was like a quick learning experience. I was told that I had to get better or my job I was fired. So just had to, that was not very nice. And I mean, it was good because it had to be done, because you can't really just keep doing what you're doing if you're not doing very well. But when you get that sort of stress, and as well, it's like, when you're stressed and in a stress situation, you're probably performing a lot worse. And when you're doing worse, you're losing more confidence. And then when the confidence goes down, you do a lot worse, and it's like a downward spiral. So that was not a very good situation.
So how did you overcome this?
I just worked harder, just focus harder, working harder. And at the end I managed to pull through. So But I think now when I think back at it, it's really good situation, because it was a good learning experience, because then you had to kind of know that you had to take this seriously. You can't just go about doing this with taking it too lightly. You have to actually focus and work hard and getting better, because there's a lot of people who are really good, and you need to focus and be as good as them to have a job. So for me, it was a really good learning experience, even though it was not very pleasant at the time.
And you were also working full-time before, right? And then now you are a freelancer?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you compare that a bit? Like, what are the biggest challenges in maybe both, and what is the best on each?
Yeah, for me, I prefer freelance. I don't know why. I think to me, being employed, it feels a bit like a prison. You're just stuck there, and you're being forced to do whatever project that you really can't have a say in, what kind of project, and you really have not very much to say about your title or what you're supposed to focus on, or just about how much time you want to spend on it. You're basically like a prisoner, and they say what you do. And I find that if you're a freelance, you can set your own schedule, and you usually have to do to a certain extent what they say, but you can always discuss everything and argue why you think you shouldn't, or you have to collaborate with them. Rather, if you're an employee, it feels like they're saying to you what you need to do. So that's the main thing. And I think that for me personally, it just fits being freelance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because sometimes I think people need to decide if that's the best for them, because some people like the security of just the same paycheck every month, and they don't have to promote themselves or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the upside of being an employee. You don't have to promote yourself that much. But on the other hand, I think it's something you should learn how to do well, because I just think, I mean, you tend to get lazy if you're employed. You just
Yes.
don't focus on doing those sort of things.
That's so
And
true.
I think it's good doing that even though you don't want to. I just hate doing marketing, but I know that I have to do it.
Yeah,
I just want to sit and draw.
yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people maybe don't realize, but when you start working on your own, then you have to do like marketing, and you have to be kind of
Yes.
like a business person because you are creating business around you.
Exactly. You have to spend a lot of time like getting in new jobs and like promoting your business and telling people who you are and getting your name out there. There's a lot of time you have to do it. And then you have to do like bookkeeping and those sort of things, getting your numbers straight and those sort of things. But I suppose you can work from home and you can do all of those sort of things as well. So there's a lot of positives and negatives with both, but I prefer being freelance.
Yeah, yeah. And you are both freelance, also you and your girlfriend, or she's working full time?
No, she's working full time. So
You can kind of balance it out as well, and
exactly.
so it's a bit easier. Yeah, I think that's nice. Yeah, because also like my boyfriend, he's working as well, so it's nice to balance it out both.
Yeah, exactly. And now I work freelance. I usually work like 4 days per week, and I work like 7-hour days because I know personally I can't work any longer than that. If I work 8-hour days, the last hour is just plain nonsense. I don't do anything constructive. And working 5 days a week, my mind burns out. So I can control my own time and work at the pace that I need to work on to do good stuff. I think that's important for me.
So you don't work over the weekend?
No,
Okay,
I don't.
okay, yeah, because some people, work like all the time, and then
Yeah.
it can be like scary, like, oh, what if I go freelance, then I have to work all the time. But you
Yeah. No, I sometimes I have to do something over the weekend, but that rarely happens. I usually just if you plan your schedule right, that shouldn't happen.
yeah.
If it happens, then you're taking on too much stuff, or you're overscoping the things you're taking on.
Yeah, that's true. But then also what I heard, like in Sweden now, it's quite tempting to be employed because you have 6-hour work days, right?
It's at some companies, but most you don't.
Okay.
They're just trying it out at a few places, but
Ah.
not as a general thing. I think they should. It would be great.
Yeah, because you are
Then
more
people-
effective when you are like focused and
Yeah, exactly. And I just find that I haven't spoken to anyone who says that they can keep their focus for 8 hours straight. Most people I know, they can keep their focus for about 6 hours. After that, you just tend to like procrastinate, sitting in meetings. Even though meetings are good, you don't do productive stuff. You don't work particularly hard.
yeah,
So.
I know. We used to have a lot of meetings in my
Yes,
previous job.
yeah, it feels like people fill up the time with meetings because they don't have the energy to work hard for 8 hours.
And then you don't have time to do anything because you are in a meeting all the time.
Exactly. And it's like you sit in a meeting, usually during like pre-noon, and you just destroy the best hours of your day sitting in meetings. And then you set the other half of the day when your brain is freezed from all the meetings, you just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I don't want to hold you too long, so I would like to end the interview with some questions about the future. And if you would imagine yourself in 5 to 10 years and you are not afraid to fail or anything bad happen, where would you be?
I would probably be doing somehow what I'm doing today. Just keep learning and keep doing new things. But it would be amazing to have my own company where I do either animation or video games or something. So just I can set the rules. That would be a lot of fun because I've seen so many things. I mean, companies are the way they are and they need to be organized the way they are. But I just think there are a lot of things that could be done a lot better.
Yeah.
And if I had my own company, I can try to make that happen.
And would you work with people in your area, or do you think you can find people around the world to kind of work remotely with you?
I think it would be nice to work remotely because I dream of working from home. That would be, I'm more comfortable at home. I do better stuff at home, and I think most people will do that. So, and I think the structure is there to work remotely for everyone. So.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see that. I'm sure that will happen in a few years. So I'm really curious where you will go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the only problem I see with that is just sometimes it's just better to have meetings in person.
Yeah.
But I mean, over Skype, it's good, but it's always better to have those meetings in person and always being able to turn around and talk to the other person like in a few seconds and ask questions. But I think you can overcome those difficulties.
Yeah, because then you can find the different people around the world. So maybe you're limited with the people just in the same town or.
Exactly. And what I found that the companies where I mostly work, they usually have like an open office space, and there's just a bunch of noise and people talking all the time, and you can just never focus. Yeah. And I think that's super inefficient, or it just people can't be focused in that sort of environment, and people just tend to walk around, talk all the time. It's better if you're like shut into like a small room and you can focus.
Yeah, because I actually heard this in another podcast. It was about the productivity, and they were talking about this kind of two opinions which are really like contradicting, because most of the companies are having now open office space, but then it's not really according to the productivity rules, because that's you are most productive when you are on your own. So it's kind of contradicting now, like what is happening or what is actually true.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would be worth going away. That's one sort of thing that I just think is like not sound work in practice, that most companies just have an open office space. I don't know why they have that, but I just think it like limits the productivity. I think the productivity would go up if people were more focused and did more stuff on their own.
Yeah. So, maybe combination of it somehow they should think about.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you have like a bunch of rooms and then have like an open office space, and then you have tables with wheels on them, and people can just sit wherever they want. Yeah, they can just cool. They can just steal a room if they want to work focused for a while. So.
Yeah. And last question would be like, what would you want to be remembered for in 100 years?
That's a tricky question. Yeah, but I think I would prefer it to be remembered by being a good person and contributing with something to humanity, rather than, and I would hope that would be something art related, but I prefer to be like not really remembered in the art scene, because I think I'd rather be remembered as being a good person than a good artist, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's great. So guys, don't forget to inspire each other and help each other to succeed. So thank you for joining me, and for everyone listening as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And hope to see you, like where would you like go, and creating company and games and other art in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.